pregnancy, or within a year after pregnancy. And a common thread in these tragic deaths is often a lack of communication, not listening to the pregnant woman, lack of communication between hospital staff, doctors, nurses, and the woman, the patient, leading to serious patient concerns being ignored. In fact, a majority of the deaths could have been prevented by attending to the concerns of the women and hearing her. Here in New York City, an average of 20 women die each year from pregnancy or childbirth-related causes. And here in New York City, Black women are 6 times more likely to die of pregnancy-related causes. On October 9th, in this year, 2024, the Speaker of the New York City Council, Adrienne Adams, gave an emergency speech on the maternal health crisis here in this city and nationally. And an issue that has not been highlighted adequately is the issue of domestic violence or intimate partner violence against women and against women who are pregnant, violence by current or former partners due to jealousy, resentment, and financial stress compounded by the pregnancy. Physical, emotional, and psychological abuse are tragically common forms of abuse that women and pregnant women suffer. This has to face the light of day. It has to be brought out from the shadows to the light for something to change, for it to be addressed. We need communication, advocacy, outreach, and support at the neighborhood and community levels. That's so important. And we are really just at the beginning of this movement for the lives and the health of women and Black women, without whom none of us would be here. More to come on this. Thank you. No justice, no peace.
Thank you very much. Please step up. Tell us your name, where you're from, and briefly, what is on your mind.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Ramsey, and giving honor to God, who is the head of my life, and to our founder, Dr. Sharpton, and everyone in their respectable places. For this is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. I just wanted to share with you, going into a new year, we have to let go of those baggages from the old year. We cannot go into a new year holding grudges and resentment against one another. We have to have forgiveness. We have to seek peace with all men, for without holiness, no man shall see the Lord. So let us work on those fruits and those gifts that we need, because that's the only thing that's going to keep us. And when you look back over your life and think of where God brought you from, you can truly say that you've been blessed. You have no reason to complain. Some of us walked in here, some of us didn't, but we're still alive. We're still breathing. So I just wanted to encourage everyone today, just think of the goodness of Jesus and what he's done for you. And your soul will cry out, hallelujah! You thank God for saving you. No peace, no justice.
Thank you very much. Please step up. Tell us your name, where you're from, and briefly, what is on your mind.
Good morning, Grand Rising, Nan family. Abaragani. Ujima. Abaragani.
Ujima.
All right, so today is the 3rd day of Kwanzaa, Ujima, collective work and responsibility. I remember when I was growing up, I learned these principles, I even sang them. And this one is near and dear to my heart. We don't grow in isolation, we grow in community. And it is important, I'm gonna say it again, we don't grow in isolation, we grow in community. And it is important that we remember that. When for my first time participating in the Christmas celebration, I really witnessed unity in a big way that day. And I was encouraged. And I want us to take that same energy going forward in the new year and really think about how we can lend a hand to each other, especially in these coming 4 years of what we're going to have to deal with. Start looking at your passion and start thinking about what you were given with, the talents and gifts and abilities that God gave you, to lend those abilities for this year coming, because we're going to need it, y'all. We're going to need it. But yeah, so keep that in mind. We grow in community and not in isolation. No justice, no peace. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Please step up. Tell us your name, where you're from, and briefly, what is on your mind.
I'm Minister Sandra from out of the Bronx in New York. What's on my mind is that we have to respect one another even leaders have to be careful what they say out there. If you have someone as an advisor, they should know what you should say and what you should not say. I don't want no interruptions with me coming here for any reason if I have to go to another organization. No, this is important to me because I never met Martin Luther King. And this information that Dr. Reverend Al Sharpton gives out of his heart and his mind to us, we have to listen. No justice, no peace.
Thank you very much. Please step up, tell us your name, where you're from, and briefly, what is on your mind?
Good morning. I'm Winifred Ayuk from Brooklyn, New York. I'm from Cameroon. I'm also a lifetime member of NAN. What's on my mind? I'm very grateful to all the NAN volunteers who registered voters in the last election. Because of them, I voted for my first time. Unfortunately, it didn't go my way. And also, I hope all my African brothers and sisters hearing me out there will come and join NAN. Let's have a common African front because we don't have one in the United States. And lastly, to Reverend Al Sharpton and all the supporters, I say a very big thank you for representing hope around the world with my little check of $500.
Please step up, tell us your name, where you're from, and briefly, what is on your mind?
Dornell Jones, currently residing in the village of Harlem. Greetings, House of Justice, and happy Saturday. Abaragani. We will be celebrating Ujima Collective Work and Responsibility this afternoon. Celebrate Kwanzaa 2024 with the National Action Network New York City Chapter Political Action, Disability, and Housing Committees right here at the House of Justice, 106 West 145th Street in the village of Harlem. Join us on the third day of Kwanzaa, Saturday, December 28th, 2024, 12 o'clock noon to 4 o'clock p.m. Come out for a celebration of our family, community, and culture. Light refreshments will be served by the NAN Welcome Committee, live performances by the NAN Arts and Culture Committee, vendors welcome. Please bring books for our book drive, fruit, and or nuts to share. Our presenter is our own Reverend Ronald McHenry, artivist and coordinator here at the House of Justice. Peace and blessings.
Thank you very much. Please step up, tell us your name, where you're from, and then briefly, what is on your mind?
Good morning, NAN family. My name is Rodney from Queens, New York. What's on my mind is the MTA, right? Now, congestion pricing, right? Now they want to raise the fare. You got people getting stabbed, pushed on the tracks, lady get burned up. I mean, and then they get statistics show, the MTA guy gets on there, statistics show, go to that family and tell them about their person getting burned or stabbed or pushed on the tracks. How are you going to raise the fare now? This is ridiculous. We need to boycott. People don't pay anyway. People get on the bus, get on the train, they don't pay. So what do you think, go $3, they're going to pay? They're going to pay. I mean, seriously. MTA, I think they like gangsters. They like the mafia now. They extorting us. I'm tired of it. MTA, y'all got to get your stuff together. They need to be ordered or something. No justice, no peace.
Thank you. Please step up, tell us your name, where you're from, and then briefly, what is on your mind?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Janka Savorik, and I was formerly Joanne Esposito. And Bible scriptures on my mind because we all have to wake up because as we've heard from the other people, we are the first nation under God. We made Egypt and the USSR in 1922, and a lot of people don't know this. The United Nations is no part of the world, and it's supposed to keep peace, and we're losing Yugoslavia, we're losing the USSR. So what's on my mind is the Bible says man does not live by bread alone. Well, all of our food is bioengineered, and I don't think we have a Department of Agriculture. So be a community where a people power, never lose the people authority, and please, let's have food that is not test tube food.
Thank you so much for your comments. To those who are seated here in the House of Justice, to those that are listening via WLIB or our various social media platforms. That concludes this week's segment of What's on Your Mind, where you, the community, have the opportunity to share what you think. The viewpoints shared today are simply the viewpoints of the contributors and don't directly reflect that of the National Action Network. You can always go to www.nanwhatsonyourmind@gmail.com. Thank you very much. You're back into the hands of our Sister Crawford.
Thank you, Reverend McHenry, and to all that contributed to today's What's on Your Mind segment. Our members are hard working on the ground to raise the issues and making change into a reality in this country. To hear more about what our committees are doing right here in the House of Justice, we bring to you this week Inola Tucker, chairperson of the Welcome Committee of the New York City chapter of National Action Network. Let us welcome her at this time.
Greetings and seasoned greetings, my NAN family, and welcome to the National Action Network. My name is Inola Tucker, and I'm a lifetime member and the chairwoman of the Welcoming Committee. How many lifetime members do we have in the audience today? Make some noise. I have a question for you. Why should you want to join the National Action Network? Well, why join the National Action Network? And maybe I will share with you why I joined the National Action Network, and maybe you too will be inspired to do the same. My journey here at the National Action Network started when I volunteered for the NAN Second Chance Committee. This committee educates and raises awareness of what is happening in our prisons and jails that affects people who are incarcerated. The journey did not stop there. I would hear Reverend Sharpton every Saturday saying, turn around to his new members, turn around and face the audience and welcome them to the National Action Network. And that's when the idea of the Welcome Committee came into existence, and the Welcome Package came, and the idea of the Welcome Package came into existence, and the creativity of the Welcome Package, and the rest is history. I've been volunteering ever since. Would you like to do that too? Yes, you can. Just call 877-626-4651. The Welcome Committee encourages you to join and be a part of History Makers. It's just that simple. If you're here at the House of Justice when Reverend Sharpton welcomed new members, get some pep in your step and lightly fist bump Reverend Sharpton and join the NAN family. We have many committees that you can get involved in. So join today, become a NAN member. Once again, call 877-626-4651 or email me at nanwelcomecommittee@gmail.com. Here are some of updates on what Welcome Committee has been doing. The Welcome Committee gives out welcome package to our NAN new members. You may ask, what's in the welcome package? NAN welcome package is filled with information about the NAN organization, upcoming events, and useful items that you will be happy to have. The Welcome Committee has a table set up on Saturday and on special event to display NAN t-shirts, caps, buttons, and much, much more for anyone who is interested. NAN Welcome Committee, Men Auxiliary, Second Chance Committee, Housing Committee, and our chapter president, along with members and staff, help get the vote out to the community at the annual African American Day Parade for Election Day. The Welcome Committee will continue to march at Bill Ackman 787 11th Avenue to protest DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. When DEI is under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back. NAN Welcome Committee and Sister Sharon helped decorate the House of Justice for this holiday season. NAN Welcome Committee were in the courtroom, and I am here to let you know our hearts hurt for the family, friends, and support of Jordan Neely. Once again, we witnessed a gross miscarriage of justice that he wrongly wrongfully did not deserve, as we continue to keep the family in prayer. The Welcome Committee reached out and invited the Martin Luther King Tower Senior Citizen in Harlem. I attend that center, and I register them to join us to go to Washington, January 20, 2025, on Martin Luther King federal holiday. Now, the Welcome Committee will continue to celebrate today, the third day of Kwanzaa, Ujima, Collective Work and Responsibility, with NAN Political Action, Disability, Housing, Arts and Cultural Committee. Come out and join us. Live entertainment, and we serve light refreshments. Welcome to the National Action Network. No justice?
Thank you, Sister Inola Tucker, on that information concerning our Welcome Committee. Let us welcome the Nan Change Ensemble.
Thank you.
Change Ensemble under the direction of our musical director, Minister Tyrone Richardson. Every Saturday, we have an inspirational word coming from one of our leading pastors across the country. Please welcome to bring an inspirational word to us this morning, Reverend Paul Graves, the senior pastor of Clearway Missionary Baptist Church in Newark, New Jersey, and the moderator of the New Hope Missionary Baptist Association. Let us greet him with a warm National Action Network welcome.
Let the church say amen. Amen. Come on, better than that. Amen. Amen. I was sitting, looking, and feeling the spirit that's in this room that we're in right now, and it took me back to Atlanta, Georgia. And it took me back to a time when on Saturday mornings I was watching Soul Train. And I don't know if you remember that. But Saturday morning was time to get up and get on with it. And I feel that here. And I just take my hat off and I commend this organization and, of course, the two people that stand right at the very center of what you're doing. Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton, pardon me. And, of course, our chairman of the board, Dr. W. Franklin Richardson. And I would like to say, before I offer any other thoughts about why I'm here with you this morning with the word of inspiration, to say that you are blessed to be in the company of a man who has stood at the very brink of all the things that have gone. Come on, you can do that. You can do that. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody can stand there in the midst of the fire, the challenges, the arguments, the issues. I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, during the civil rights struggle. I saw Bull Connor and his dogs, the hose pipes, the bombing of little girls in churches. And I do remember that the people who stood at the very front of that, who stood there while everybody else was running away from it, you remember them, and they were examples. And I feel strongly that you have been blessed to have that here. It's not Birmingham anymore, it's everywhere you look. The fires are burning. There is a word from the Lord this morning. There is a word from the Lord. If you have your Bibles, you might want to remember to take this with you. It's taken from Joshua, the 5th chapter and the 12th verse. And there it reads, "And the manna ceased on the morrow after they had eaten of the old corn of the land. Neither had the children of Israel manna any more, but they did eat of the land of Canaan that year." In a time of change, the main difference between a successful and an unsuccessful venture, there are changes going on within this country that are profound and shaping for our future. And that old song that we used to sing in that little church back up in those woods that I grew up in says, "Time is filled with swift transition. Naught on earth unmoved can stand. Build your hopes on things eternal. Hold to God's unchanging hand." That has never been truer than right now. Job said this in that season of change in his life, and he wrote that the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. It is God's provision that we are given different seasons and times through which we live. We are living through a very dangerous and divisive time. Life itself can be described as a series of seasons that we pass through on our journey through life. Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter says, "To everything there is a season and a time, and to every purpose under the heavens." And it goes on to list a variety of seasons that we must prepare in life to face and live through. Amen? Each season comes to teach us life lessons. In our text, we find Israel in an important season and time in its life. It had, after 40 years of wandering in the wilderness, crossed over into the promised land. It was an ending for one season of life and a beginning for another. They were glad, I'm sure, to know that no matter the seasons or the time they faced, there was no place that the will of God would send them, that the grace of God could not keep them. You ought to give God a hand. You ought to let God know you trust and believe that. Because there is nothing that can keep you from what you will face in the challenges that we're going to face the next 4 years except God. Can I say one more thing to you? I've been told that they'll hook me out of here if I don't hurry up. But I want to share this with you. Moses understood a very important principle. Moses was told by God to go into Pharaoh and let his people free. God in his wisdom knew something more than Moses knew. Moses understood about setting people free, letting them go. He knew that that was what God had sent him to do, was get them out of Egypt so they could go to the promised land. But lo and behold, God spent 40 years in the wilderness with them, doing two things: getting Egypt out of them. Come on. Come on. 24 hours, they got the children of Israel out of Egypt. God spent 40 years getting Egypt out of them. One more thing I'll say to you. There's a difference between being let go and being set free. Pharaoh could let them go, but God knew they needed something more than to be released. He knew they had to be set free. And what God does that's different from somebody letting you go is God knew that there had to be a freedom or a release from that which puts you in jail. Amen? So it's never just get out of jail. It's going to take you and I and all the rest of the challenges that we face to realize that we need a God who is able to set us free. That God is that God that woke you up this morning. That God who told you this morning you needed to have a church going mind. That God who said that I will never leave you nor forsake you. That God who said that I will be there in the early mornings and the middays and the late nights. That God who said that I am who I am and I will be whatever you need me to be to free you from what it is that's keeping you where you are. I want you to hear me when I say this. There is some challenges over the next 4 years. It's going to be a challenge that's going to test everything, every fiber in our makeup. It will be in the family's house. It will be in the church. It will be in the schools. And certainly it will be in the families. Because what I see coming is an effort to have you believe that you are only in this facing the ones who see you as different and not worthy in some ways to receive the accolades and the rewards of being good Americans, of being able to say that you fought in the wars, but you didn't show yourself worthy to be rewarded for what you did in the war. That's what you will face. Can I say one more thing? And I'm going to let you not put me out. I'm going to sit back down in a minute. I worked a total of about 10 years with two of the largest companies in America in diversity, equality, and inclusion. I headed up diversity at Coca-Cola for a number of years. I left them and went to Delta Airlines and headed up their diversity work. And I can tell you one thing about diversity work. Diversity work is a way for people to begin to appreciate and understand that you have to value diversity before you can have an opportunity to serve it. It's not there to make them feel belittled. You are there to help them understand it's bigger than you. And when we can bring that back, if we see that is the issue, it's not that I want your job. It's not that I want to move next door to you. It's not that I want to have you see me in some way that you don't need to see him or don't want to see me. God didn't send Martin Luther King here back when he did in the South just to have one of us sit at a McDonald's next to somebody who didn't want me sitting there. But what God and King both understood was that if you sat next to someone, you offer an opportunity for something who used to keep you from sitting next to each other be removed because you're categorically now a human being. Oh. A human being. And this is the kicker. We are back to that segregated mindset. It's not going to look like it used to look, but it's segregation. It's not going to look like it used to look, but it's separation. It's not going to look like it used to look, but it's going to ask you a question. Who do you say you are now? You've had 50 years to get it right, but who are you now? I'm going to leave you with that. Let it be a part of your conversation and look to the moment that God says, I'm with you. Believe he's with you. Offer yourself to him and believe me, there will be some rough times, ups and downs, but I'm going to say one thing to you. God has been there before and we have been there before. We will win this battle. Martin Luther King, the last night that he was alive, he made a comment that has stuck with me over the years. He made a comment, he said, as he was talking to that crowd that night, he said in Memphis, he said, look, I may not get there with you. He said, but I have seen the promised land. And he said, we as a people will get there. He didn't say might get there. He didn't say we could get there. He said you will get there. And that's an attitude. Come on with me, church. I say that's an attitude. Have at it. Fight on, my brothers and sisters. Fight on.
Thank you, Reverend Graves, for that powerful message. Let us welcome the Nan Change Choir.
Lord.
the Nan Change Choir, under the direction of our musical director, Minister Tyrone Richardson. Brothers and sisters, the time has come. I ask that you please stand to your feet as we receive our president and founder, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton.
No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. What do we want? Justice. What do we want? Justice. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. 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 Shake hands with the person next to you. Tell them you love them. When I was growing up in Brownsville, Brooklyn, I remember that after my father left, that my mother had to put together what she could to make it Christmas for my sister and I. But we never went through Christmas without a nice meal, even though she scrubbed floors and had to make it work with welfare checks. But this past Christmas, we fed almost 2,000 people here. And I thought about how, as we were giving people their hot plate, elderly and homeless, and giving toys to the kids, that my mother used to tell me, if you just keep going, it may be rough in the beginning, but God got a plan. And God is the master planner. So I come to tell you on the last Saturday of this year, you may have had a rough year, but if you hold on, your change will come. Your change will come. Your change. Don't you give up. Your change. I know it will. Your change. Change will come. A few years ago, I was called by James Brown, the Godfather Soul, who is like a father to me. He wanted me to come to Augusta to speak as they unveiled the statue of James Brown on Broad Street. That's the picture right here of the statue and him and I there, that he had me come speak. He would be dead 2 years later. And I remember as the ceremony was over and all of the accolades,
James Brown told me, he said, you know, I grew up, I went to jail as a kid and then went back to jail as an adult. He said, and I used to shine shoes right down the block. Had the buck dance for the soldiers at Fort Gordon. He said, and look across the street, Reverend, I looked down. He said, that's a Confederate general statue. But now the Confederate general, from now on, gonna have to look at the statue of the Godfather of Soul. I think about it as I look at that picture to tell you, don't worry what you come through. Just thank God that you got through. And if you hold on to that thought, your change will come.
Your change will come. Your change. Just keep the faith. Your change. Oh, yes, it will. Your change. Change will. Oh, change will. Oh, your change will come. Your change. Just hang on in there. Your change. Go on through it. Your change. Wow, your change. Your change will come. Your change. Change will. Oh, change will.
National Action Network Change Choir, give them a big hand. Give them a big hand. Certainly we're happy to be with you another Saturday morning for the Saturday Action Rally. And for you that are here live at the House of Justice, 106 West 145th Street in the Village of Harlem. And for you that are listening live on 1190 WLIB AM in New York and watching us on various platforms, we're happy to be with you another Saturday morning to give our report on where the action is. Give a hand to our presider, Nancy Darlene Crawford. Give a hand to our Minister of Music, our musical director, Minister Tyrone Richardson. Give Chris and the band some. And give a real hand to Reverend Dr. Paul Graves, Sr. I loved his message, and it was interesting to me because I thought about when he talked about how we reminded him of Soul Train. I remember when they came out with the documentary on Let's Welcome Our Impact Television audience watching us. I remember when the documentary came out of me a year ago or so, the show, what they call Loudmouth, is still on Showtime. And I talked about how proud I was that when I was 19, James Brown brought me on Soul Train to give him an award and make a speech. And I was bragging to my kids and that I was on Soul Train. And they said, "What's Soul Train?" So I heard Graves talking about, for some of y'all that remember, a lot of kids don't even remember what Soul Train was. I said, well, that was back in the day where entertainers had their pants above their behinds. That's what. I know y'all don't know about them days. And then I'm glad to see it. Santa Claus was good to some of y'all. And I'm glad to see that. I see Tisha went and got a Christmas spirit top for our musical director, all in red leather. That's mighty good. Reverend Richardson, you look mighty nice. And then I see it, Reverend Ron McHenry's family made him an African prince. Stand up. He's been made an African prince. Some of y'all had a good Christmas. And then, you know, I got a note from Dominique when I finished last Saturday, Reverend, that Reverend Graves, Dominique don't give me notes until after, so I don't get off in my message. But I got a note, dear, I'll read it. Dear Reverend Al, I appreciate you down through the years, but I want you to know I won't be here Christmas because I'm going to hit the $1 billion lotto this week. And I'll send you a little donation, but you'll have to find somebody else to pick on every week. Well, he didn't make the lotto. Stand up, Tony. He's here. We noticed you wasn't here Thursday. You were still trying to get the right ticket. Let me also recognize, in all seriousness, I'm so happy to see our president of the Queens chapter, a real brother, building activist. Some activists just protest, some build and protest. He's a building and economic development person and minister. Reverend Phil Craig, stand up, Reverend Craig, at our Queens chapter. And his son, Jonathan, is with him. Stand up, Jonathan. Glad to see both of y'all in the house. Glad to see both of y'all. Let me say, 38 years ago, a young man was killed during this time of year named Michael Griffith. There were 3 young black men that was coming through Queens going home, and their car broke down. And they got out of the car seeking help in a little part of Queens called Howard Beach. Some saw them as they were walking, looking for help, and got to the pizzeria on Cross Bay Boulevard. And they chased them, saying, "We don't allow N-word in the neighborhood." Chased Michael to his death. He was run over by a car on the Belt Parkway. I had just started National Youth Movement not long before that. And one of the people worked in the youth movement called me in the middle of the night and told me they killed my cousin out in Queens. At the time, we were fighting against crack. Crack epidemic had hit hard in our communities. And what we couldn't understand is why the police wouldn't close the crack houses. If we were all young, and some younger than us kids knew where the crack houses was, we knew the police knew where they were. So what I did is I started saying, okay, get the press out here. Some of the press had known me from being youth director of Breadbasket. And I would take one reporter, send it with one of my young people to go to the corner store, the bodegas, put $10 on the counter, and the guy'd give them the crack. Then the reporter come back and say, yeah, this is legit, and we'd paint red X's on the crack house. Found out the police, in some cases, was in cahoots with the crack dealers. And we went on with that. So I assumed when this guy called me and said that his cousin had been killed in Queens, I assumed it was over drugs. He gave me the address to the family. When I said when I get up, I'll go over there. I went over there, met Miss Griffith and her son, and she told me the story of Michael Griffith. At that time, I said, this is outrageous. They're going to act like this wasn't what it was. And I said that first of all, we got to let folk know that we'll go anywhere we want to go in this town. And I said, we going to the pizzeria, and we going to have a motorcade out there, and we going to press outside. I said, we going to drive to this pizzeria and show them we'll go Howard Beach and any other beach in this town. And as I tell the story often, I called for the motorcade, and one of the top union leaders in town called me and said, Remal, I heard you on WLIB saying you're going out to Howard Beach. I'm going to get some of my members. We going with you. And I said, his name was Jim Bell. I said, well, let me ask you this, Brother Bell. He said, what? I said, can I ride with you? Because I don't even have a car. I don't call a motorcade. And I don't have a car. I was going to have to take the subway to my own motorcade. And we went out there, 2 preachers, a lot of the ministers, that thought it was too risky and that preach faith but don't practice it when it comes to social issues. I believe in a God that is not only a God in your private life, but a God that can handle you in a social setting. So the preachers were saying, I ain't going out there, Al, that's a little too much. 2 preachers went with us. And one was Reverend Herbert Daughtry. The other was Reverend Jerry West. And Jerry West and Herb Daughtry and I were on the front page of the New York Times the next day eating pizza at where Michael Griffith had been chased from to his death. And I got word this week that Reverend Jerry West passed. And I wanted to give a tribute to a man and minister of courage and conviction. All the way through them 38 years, he's continued to stand up and fight for what's right. But I never forget one which was risky. And when I was not well known, Jerry West stood with us. And we stand with his family today. Give a big hand, Reverend Jerry West, Church of God in Christ. Give him a hand, Jerry West. Let me also say that I've released a statement. I talked to the governor. This tape of this man beaten to death in Marcy Correction Facility, Robert Brooks. I don't care what someone does. You don't have the right to kill them. And you don't have the right to beat them. And the governor's right to say that the guards need to be fired, and Tish James is right to investigate and prosecute this. If somebody does wrong, you put them in jail. You don't beat them to death. We stand for justice in the killing of Robert Brooks. Let me say before I go into my other message, parts of my message this morning, I announced last week, and I'll repeat, that we are starting next Saturday going to WBLS FM. We thank WLIB for all the years we were on. They've gone to new ownership, and it's the last Saturday, so the last Saturday, this broadcast will be on there. So next Saturday, y'all can go right to WBLS and listen to the broadcast or be in the House of Justice, because a whole lot go on that you don't make the airways. So we want to thank all of our friends, Sue Kim, and certainly Cynthia Smith and the program director, Kojo, Brother Kojo, that we got a home to keep on going every Saturday morning, WBLS 107.5. All right, starting next Saturday. We are anxious about it. Let me remind people that one of the things that I think we get away from in our history is when I look at what's going on right now, the reason why it is not stunning a lot of people is because they do not follow history. When you hear Trump 1 minute wants to get rid of TikTok, the next minute he's saying, well, let's wait. What did he say, let's wait for? He said, well, I understand a lot of our young folks that voted for me because we spent money with TikTok. I keep telling you that politics is also based and mostly based on economic interest. That's why when we get to Washington on January 20th, we're going to start the beginning of the process of economic withdrawal from those companies that don't want to do business with us. Then we will not do business with them. We're going to start January 20th, going to Washington. One side of Washington, Reverend Graves, they're going to be swearing in Donald Trump that day. It's King's federal holidays, the reason we going, but it's inauguration day, happen to be on the same day. And they're going to have him on one side of Washington with his hand on the Bible, being sworn in the 47th President of the United States. We're going to meet at McCarran Park, and march from there to Metropolitan AME Church. That's the church that Frederick Douglass's funeral was at. Church that we brought Rosa Parks' body. It's sacred ground. And we're going to have our rally in that church, thousands of us, and we're going to raise our hand and take an oath to keep Dr. King's dream alive on Dr. King Day. People say, well, you ain't going to be no trouble. No, we miles away from the inauguration. We are not January 6th insurrectionists. We're Martin Luther King disciples. We are not troublemakers, we're trouble breakers. And it's troubling to me that a man with this kind of immoral political platform wants to take care of the wealthy at the expense of the poor. Let me tell you something. When he's talking about all of this building detention centers for migrants and taking people in jail and saying that there's nothing wrong with the death penalty, there's a moral issue here. When they talk about ending diversity, equity, and inclusion, when you're talking about DEI wouldn't have been necessary if you didn't have a policy of exclusion. Reason you had to have law to include us is you had a law to exclude us. Don't act like we just, by some force of nature, was behind. We were forced behind. My great-granddaddy was a slave. I went to the plantation, he was enslaved then. My grandma couldn't teach me how to read and write. She couldn't go to school by law. So as you come in now with this immoral political platform, we're going to be there on the other side of town saying, we survived 4 years of Trump before, and we're going to survive 4 years now, because the God that's in us is stronger than the forces against us. He just messed with everything, talking about we ought to take back the Panama Canal. Come on, y'all can't. Let me tell you something. Y'all got to have a global view of what's going on, from TikTok to Panama. You got folk right here from Panama. Why out of all these years, Panama Canal was erected so that it could shorten the trade in terms of shipping between the East and the West. And they made an agreement with the United States. I think Teddy Roosevelt, back in the day. Somebody up here old enough to remember Teddy Roosevelt. He wants to mess with Panama on what he say he's gonna buy Greenland. Man ain't even got sworn in land yet. And he gonna start buying countries and call African countries out their name. We must stand up. And I want us to be there day one to stand up in Washington, D.C. Go to you that are watching me on Impact or you that are listening on the air, go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and find out whatever information you need. Register and say, I'm coming, where do I go when I land? Where do we park? Or is there buses leaving near me? People come from all over the country, our chapters, organizing buses. If you register at www.nationalactionnetwork.net, you can get all of that information. Or you can call the toll-free number, 1-877-626-4651. 1-877-626-4651. And you might get King on the phone, King McHenry. Let me thank Don Jones for always keeping the spirit of Kwanzaa alive. We've been blessed here to have many great people, among them Dr. Malana Karanga did the 50th anniversary of Kwanzaa right here on this stage. And she keeps it alive every year. And one of the things that I thought was very important that we understand is Dr. Karanga said that they started the 7 days of Kwanzaa on the 26th of December, because he did not want to look like they were anti-Christmas, even though many of them don't celebrate Christmas. But he wanted to respect Christmas and start the day after in Nguzo Saba, the 7 principles that Dawn brings to us. Give us a big hand. Give Dawn a big hand. I want to thank all of you that volunteered and helped serve hundreds of people here on Wednesday, on Christmas Day, as is our custom, and the toy giveaway. And let me share this with you, and it goes right into what I want to share today. On Wednesday evening, after we finished serving everybody, I took Dominique and Ashley, and we went with my traveling staff to Chicago because I wanted to spend Christmas evening and some of the next day with my mentor, Reverend Jesse Jackson. And we didn't announce that we were going because we wanted to surprise them. And when we landed at O'Hare Airport, about 8 o'clock their time, we called his son. His son said, well, he's in the bed, but come on, he'd be delighted. We went and talked, spent about an hour, hour and a half. The next day, took him to lunch with his sons, Congressman Jonathan Jackson and Yusef Du Bois Jackson, and former Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr., who had set it all up. And went that morning to see Dwight McKee, my best friend, who helped start National Action Network. He's in the hospital, has just suffered. So I spent Christmas evening and the next day with people that I have known and grown up under. And my daughters used to spend every Christmas at Reverend Jackson's house. So Miss Jackson was delighted to see them. But I say all of that to say that you should use this season to always remember where you come from. And don't ever, no matter where you get in life, forget the grounding that produced you. One of the things I liked about Reverend Graves' inspirational message this morning is that people that forget their grounding will get lost in their way. What I mean by that, he was talking about how when the Israelites were freed from Egyptian bondage and God brought them across the Red Sea, they had to go through 40 years of wandering because even though Moses had led the fight to get them out of Egypt, it took 40 years to get to Egypt out of them. Just because you get elevated, unless you're grounded, your elevation could lead to your destruction. Some folk, God can't bless because you can't handle a blessing. Lord, why don't you give me more? Because last time he gave you more, you messed it up. Hello. When you was broke, you went to church all day Sunday, Sunday school, morning service, afternoon service. You went to prayer meeting Wednesday night, choir rehearsal Tuesday night. Soon as you got a little job, a little piece of car, little house with indoor heat, you go to church if the weather is all right, or if you don't feel like golfing. You ain't got time for prayer meeting. Sometimes God got to bring you to your knees so you can pray again. That's why, you know, I go to some churches, Reverend, and I see people get up, gonna do the morning prayer, and they go through, Lord Jesus, oh, Rose of Sharon, Lily of the Valley, bright and morning star. Lord, and go through this whole long introduction. And I tell the folk with me, he must not pray in a long time. He's taking a long runway to get that plane up. I don't have to give God all his titles. I just got through talking to him a little while ago. He know my voice because I am in constant prayer. You folk be reintroducing yourself to God. But one of the things I thought about flying back from Chicago is that Reverend Jackson taught, and I want to bring this for our New Year message. Next Saturday, we will be in 25. And we went through several defeats in 24. Looked for a black woman to be elected president, didn't make it, one defeat. Seen various colleges and businesses in DEI, another defeat. But we always have been people that can snatch victory out of the jaws of defeat. So one of the things that Reverend Jackson used to talk about, and he's talked about it here, is there have been 4 stages to our struggle. I want y'all to get this now. First stage is slavery. They brought us here in 1619 and enslaved us. And we built the country and never got paid. 1619 to 1776 was 157 years, which means that we were enslaved here before they even declared independence here. A lot of y'all missed that. first order of business, when they were still colonies, was enslave Africans. They didn't do the Declaration of Independence until 1776. We had already put a century and a half of free labor in the country. So our first battle, first chapter in American history was slavery. Not only were we working without wages, it was against the law for us to marry. It was against the law for us to read and write. If slave masters' children took a liking to us and wanted to teach us how to read, they would be punished. So we were made illiterate. They took our name, they took our families, and uprooted us. One of the reasons I waste a lot of my energies talking to folk that don't want to hear it, but I'm going to keep talking anyway, about our history. It is part of the enslaving of people to disconnect them from their history. You will never have self-respect until you know who you are. If they can convince you that you are nothing, then they will get away with treating you like you nothing. So they had to take your name. They had to make you forget Africa. They had to give you the psychology of being a slave. Because as long as you thought you were kings and princes and inventors and astronomers, you couldn't be enslaved. They had to break your mind to put a chain on your behind. So by the second or third generation, you really thought your name was Toby. Because they sold grandpa to Alabama and you were in Mississippi, sold mama to Georgia. They broke the family up. But even in the midst of that breakup, some said we need to be free. There was some Nat Turner. There was some Frederick Douglass. And by 1863, after the Union Army had to bring in blacks because they were losing the Confederates. That's why y'all hear me say every other week, when Lincoln was told to bring the blacks in to free the slaves and let them fight, he didn't want to do it. Finally, when they were losing the Civil War, he freed the slaves to fight in the Union Army. So they taught us in school a lie that Lincoln freed the slaves. The slaves freed Lincoln. If they had not joined the Confederate Army as free, the Union might have lost the war. And Jefferson Davis would have been the president. The agreement made, I'm running you right into New Year's Eve. The agreement made by Lincoln and the abolitionists is that I'm freeing the slaves as of January 1st, 1863. Emancipation Proclamation, which was nothing but an executive order by the president. That's why when Joe Biden signed the executive order on George Floyd, we didn't get the law, but we got the executive order. Stand up, Terrence Floyd, George Floyd's brother here this morning, sitting up here with Central Park exonerated 5. Stand up, Curry Weiss. When Lincoln signed the proclamation, the Emancipation Proclamation, the proclamation said, Reverend Stephen Marshall, that on January 1st, 1863, slaves are free. Watch night started for us, Marshall, because we were waiting to see when the clock struck 12 whether Lincoln was going to keep his promise. So Watch night wasn't about going to church to midnight and then go and get your Ripple out the pocket and get drunk. Y'all start laughing. Some of y'all know what Ripple is. Watch night was about emancipation. That's why one of the most significant days in our history is Emancipation Day. Why? Because we should celebrate the day that we broke the chains of chattel slavery. So from 1863 going forward, the new challenge, chapter 2, according to Jesse, was against Jim Crow and segregation. We was free, but we didn't have access to nothing. 12 years we had Reconstruction. They ended Reconstruction, and from 1870 on to the 1950s, 5,000 blacks were lynched. And they used to lynch us after church on Sunday. They take you down to the town square and hang you up. And people would leave church with their picnic baskets and have a picnic watching them hanging a black that had got out of line. Now, they did not kill as many blacks during slavery because they wanted you to have all the children you could to make them new baby slaves. So you having babies was good for business. But since you free now, if you do anything, we're going to string you up and hang you and use you as a public example. So phase 2 is we had to, now we done fought our way out of slavery, phase 1. Phase 2, we got to now fight our way out of Jim Crow. Can't live in certain neighborhoods, can't go to certain things. As the country became more modern, we were excluded. They started a movie industry, we couldn't go to the movies. Then we could only sit in the balcony. Build centers where you had downtown, well, we couldn't go to the bathroom downtown. Couldn't go to a restaurant. 100 years of fighting against Jim Crow. Where you going there, shop? 1863, 1963, 100 years later. What happened 100 years later? The March on Washington. 1863, 1963. Dr. King March on Washington. Where did they march in Washington? Lincoln Memorial. Why did they go to Lincoln Memorial? Why didn't they go to the Washington Memorial or Jefferson Monument? Because Washington and Jefferson didn't promise us nothing. Lincoln promised. And Dr. King's speech that day, 100 years later, was you promised, Mr. Lincoln. And we are still not free. We still can't vote without risking our lives. We still don't have public accommodation. It's 1963. A lot of y'all missed this. When they went to Washington August 28, 1963, they could not ride the front of a bus till they got north of the Mason-Dixie line. They had to pack their fried chicken sandwiches in bags because there wasn't a restaurant which served them until they got to D.C. Slept in their cars because there wasn't a motel would rent them a room. But because they came in 63 and because they stood up in 64, they got the Civil Rights Act. You are not getting anything unless you demand it in mass and willing to sacrifice to get it done. We didn't get the right to break down Jim Crow because somebody cut a deal in a back room. We got there because people paid a price. And some got killed paying the price. They killed Medgar Evers. They killed others. They beat folks, spent nights in jail. And now you come 60 years later acting like you got somewhere by yourself. You ain't that smart. You ain't that cultured. We open doors so your smartness would matter. So phase 2 was getting rid of Jim Crow. 64, Jim Crow became illegal. So they had to fight the residue of it, but it became illegal. Next fight, the right to vote. Why the right to vote? Because if we are going to have to pay taxes that fund your schools, that fund you building your metropolis, we got to have the right to vote with protection. The Voting Rights Act of 65 made them have to pre-clear any changes in voting. My mother grew up in Alabama. I was born and raised in Brooklyn. But in Alabama, Georgia, other places, they'd go to vote. They say, okay, you can vote. Yep, you got the right to vote. How many jelly beans in that jar? You got the right to vote. Spell anti-disestablishmentarianism backwards. The Voting Rights Act knocked all that out. So we won that. Then the fourth stage, Justice said, is economic equality. Now, we went from slavery to beating Jim Crow to where we could live out wherever we wanted, go whatever schools we wanted. And then voting rights. Elected and re-elected a black president. Then comes the backlash. Because now you all want to have economic equality. You're going to make us do contracts with black businesses. You're going to put blacks on our board. The backlash is what we experienced with the vote this year. How could y'all vote for a man with 34 felonies? Because he represents the backlash. How could y'all vote for a man found in the courts for sexual harassment? Because he represents the backlash. They didn't care how crooked Trump looked. He represented going back and killing the Voting Rights Act and killing economic right. That's why they came out against DEI. This is not about Trump and Kamala. This is about history. Everything we fought for, they have stood up and said, we're going to turn it around. Got folk unqualified, putting on the cabinet. Going for a guy that never been in charge of nothing. Ain't never ran a hot dog stand on 42nd Street. Gonna put him over the Pentagon. Got another one, Matt Gaetz, that the Congress said was taking drugs and sleeping with underage girls. He's the one that was debating me about policing. They're gonna make him the Attorney General. Because the idea is you looking at the wrong qualifications. If they are going to turn back history, they qualify. They are looking to reverse where we come. And here we are in the fourth stage with black billionaires, blacks in business, blacks all over television, and forgot your history. Lost in the wilderness. We got you out of Egypt, and you forgot the God that brought you across. We opened up Red Seas, but you doubt that God. But I come to tell you, we got to come alive in 25. Because some of us have not forgot the road we traveled. Some of us have not forgot the blood that was shed. Some of us have not forgot the price that was paid. We spent too many nights in jail. We took too much degradation. We won't go back. Shoot your best shot, Trump. We won't go back. We come too far from where we started from.
Call him.
me whatever name you want. I know who I am. I'm a child of those that built this country and never got paid. I know who I am. I'm one that took nothing and made something happen. I know who I am. I sat at the feet of giants, and I know I'm not a person that can't grow. I know who I am. I believe in a God that make a way out of no way. And even if I can't figure it out, all I got to do is stretch out my rod, and God will open up waters for me. I know who I am. Didn't my Lord deliver Daniel? Didn't my Lord deliver the 3 Hebrew boys? Y'all hold up a Bible. I read the Bible. He walks with me. He talks with me. He tells me I'm his own. We lost an election, but we ain't lost our minds. We lost on Good Friday, but we held on till Sunday came. You serve a Christ of the crucifixion, but I serve a Christ of the resurrection. He promised never to leave me. He promised every down I'll bring you up. He promised I'll make a way out of no way. He promised I'll prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies. He promised he'd walk with me. He'd talk with me. He'd tell me I'm his own. As I looked back over the year, thought about sitting there with Reverend Jackson the other day. He can't speak too clear now with the Parkinson's, can't get out the wheelchair. But I remember when he could, and how he would pour into me and other young folk. They were calling us kids from broken homes. Jesse told us, no, I am somebody. They were telling us our future was we probably all up in a jail. Jesse said, no, just keep hope alive. And I sat there looking at him, thinking about all that I've been through. Been through ups and downs, stabbed me one morning. People wrote nasty stuff, still do. President calling me bad names. But somehow I survived it. And somehow you survived it. So I come to last Saturday of the year, yeah, Kamala lost the race, but the race ain't over. This is a long journey. We, from 1619, we still on track. Because the thing you couldn't break from us is our umbilical cord with a God that's on the side of the oppressed. And if we keep that connection with God, God will fight our battles. If we stand up, he'll hold us up. If we make one step, he'll make two. He promised that he'd make our way. So I end this year, I end on the Saturday rally, knowing that I never would have made it. I've been through dangers seen and unseen. He brought me through things I didn't even know about. I never would have made it. Well, I know the shots they took, but I don't know the shots they planned that he jammed the gun. I never would have made it. Without you, I would have lost my mind. But now I see. I don't know about y'all, but I see clear now that you were there for me. Never would have made it.
Never would have made it. Never would have made it without you. I would have lost it all. Now I see you were there for me. Never would I would have lost it all. Now I see you were there for me, and I'm stronger, I'm wiser, I'm better, so much better. When I look back over all you brought me through, I can see that you were the one I held on to.
I never would have made it. I never would have made it without you. I would have lost it all. But now I see how you were there for me. Hey, I'm stronger, I'm wiser, I'm better, much better. When I look back over all you brought me through, I realize it was you I held on to.
Oh, and I'm stronger, I'm wiser,
I'm wiser,
I'm better,
much better,
so much
so much
better.
better.
I made it
I made
through the
it.
storm and the test because you were right there to carry me through my life.
I'm stronger, said I'm wiser. You know that I'm better, so much better, Lord. When I look back over all you brought me through, I realize it was you.
I'm stronger,
Yeah.
I'm wiser,
Wiser,
I'm better,
so much better.
so much better.
Oh,
I made it,
said I made it.
I made it,
Said I made it.
I made it.
I made it.
Never would have made it. Never would have made it without you. I would have lost it all. Now I see you were there for me, and I never.
Never would have made it.
No, 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 no.
I never would have made it without you.
Yeah, I would have lost it all. Now I see you were there for me. So glad I can see how the Lord has been there for me.
So glad, I'm so glad I can see that you were there for me. Ooh.
Yeah. And now I see you were there for me. And now I made it.
Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. We want justice. We want freedom. Got to have justice. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. One more time, y'all. One more time, y'all. One more time, y'all. going to open the doors of the movement. There may be someone here today on this last Saturday rally that never joined National Action Network. You hear us on radio, you see our TV show, but you never became a member of the organization. There's no better time than to end this year with a membership card and come forth and join right now. Come on. If you're here and not a member of National Action Network, come on down to me. Let us sign you up. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Come on. Everybody's singing. Sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. Everybody's singing. Everybody sing. Everybody singing. Come on, come on. One more time, y'all. One more time, y'all. One more time, y'all. As we're going off the air, you on Radio Land that want to join, you can go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net. You can join right on the radio, right on our home page, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. You can also sign up to go with us to the march and rally King Day in Washington. It's a federal holiday. You ain't got to work. You need to be working with us and standing up for Dr. King's dream. All right, I'm going to raise our offering. You in Radio Land can give also right on the site, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. I wouldn't let the year close that I couldn't say that I gave to the movement. You might never have marched. You might never have done anything, but you can give to those that will. NationalActionNetwork.net. All right, I'm going to raise our offering. Carmela, stand up. Reverend Graves, you talk about Soul Train. Carmela was one of the original Soul Train dancers. And she dances here every week. She does her dance while we are doing our post-sermon stuff. If I can get me a red vest like Tisha got Richards, I might get out there and dance with her, do my James Brown. But I can't mess up my tight suit. I got to get that. All right. Tyrone know he wears something flashy. I'm going to get on him. And McHenry's standing up the whole rally so y'all can see his stuff. He ain't sat down yet. All right, let us, everybody give to the best of your ability. I need about 10 people, at least 10, that can give $100 or more to come quickly. Guardians, $100. Mr. Mayor, Mayor Rodney Jones, Queensbridge Houses in Queens, $100. Minister Winston Gilchrist, $100. Dr. Jesse Fields, $200. Brother Sabuni, $100. Brother Charles, $100. Sister Carolyn, $100. Sister Carrie Barnes, Africa Reborn, Africa Reborn, $500. Anonymous, $300.